constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1. Line drive to the base hit. Justice has scored the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series for Reggie Jackson.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Back to throw. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them with my faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings long drive left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins.
Here's the pitch to Willie. There's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take.
I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. Yes, it's it back. One up.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a chance. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, are you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Dan Scott Show. Happens to be the first show of the week, so if I reference Monday from time to time, you'll forgive me, I'm sure.
But I hope you had a great Labor Day holiday weekend. And while summer technically doesn't end until later this month, Labor Day is kind of the unofficial celebration of the end of summer. And it was also the kickoff of college football this weekend. And boy, do we have a lot to get into as we roll through today's show. How you doing, by the way? Hope that your Tuesday is off to a good start. You know our goal here, if you're having a good start to your day, we'll try not to do anything to mess it up. If not, maybe we can provide you with a little bit of a boost. And if everything goes according to plan, by the time it's all said and done, we will all learn something we did not know by the time the show is done. And it usually starts right here in this chair. Coming up on the show today, in our very next segment, in fact, he is waiting in the wings. I would say the green room, but we don't have one. But Don Clardy, who was a member of the 1988 National Championship Furman football team, is here. And he's going to be with us today and then every Monday during the course of the season to kind of review what we saw in the Furman game that took place over the weekend, but also to go week by week in the 1988 schedule and give us his thoughts and remembrances. And well, they ought to be pretty good based on something he told me just a little while ago. So we're going to see how that works out, maybe put his feet to the fire just a little bit. But Don Clardy is here, and he'll be joining us in just a few minutes. Also, with Don and some thoughts of my own about Furman and Clemson over the weekend and other thoughts from the weekend. It was the first full weekend of college football action across the country and in the Southern Conference, in case you may have missed the results. Here they are. Started on Thursday night with Chattanooga beating Tennessee Tech 34-10, and then Samford a 66-9 win over Shorter. And then you see on your screen all the scores from Saturday. Clemson, of course, beats Furman 48-7. Wofford and the Citadel opened in conference play, and Wofford snuck its foot out of the trap late and won 28-21. And now you start scratching your head. A year ago, Wofford lived a charmed life. They won how many close games late, overtime games late, and, of course, good teams find ways to do that. There's no question about it. But it looks like that maybe they're wearing that lucky charm again this year, 28-21 in Josh Conklin's debut, the win over the Citadel. Western Carolina struggled with Division II Newberry. 33-26 up in Cullowhee was the final there. Memphis did not struggle with Mercer. They whipped up on the Bears 66-14. Toledo also put up 66. They beat VMI 66-3. And I think we had the shortest punt return in college football history. Did you see that highlight? VMI's punter basically is at the point where he kicks the ball is at the goal line, and a guy from Toledo comes in and literally just snatches the ball off his foot. The ball never got airborne and took one step and was in the end zone for a touchdown. 66-3. And then ETSU in Randy Sanders' debut, a 28-7 win over Mars Hill. So that was the opening weekend. Here is what's coming up this coming Saturday. Furman, of course, at Elon, a 6 p.m. game. ETSU goes to Tennessee. That's at 4 o'clock. And then a trio of 6 o'clock games, Jacksonville at Mercer. Another conference game, Chattanooga at the Citadel, and Wofford, its second straight conference game to open the season, entertaining VMI. And Samford will be on the road at Florida State. That is a 7:20 start. By the way, how bad did Florida State look last night against Virginia Tech and getting beat by 21 points? So that's a look at what transpired over the weekend. That's a look at what is coming up. And that kind of gets you caught up with everything except for the new top 25 in the Stats FCS poll. And there you have it. No change at the top with North Dakota State, then James Madison 2, South Dakota State 3, Sam Houston State 4, North Carolina A&T 5. You can kind of roll down your screen and see that you still have the two Southern Conference teams, Wofford and Samford, at 8 and 9. Elon, Furman's opponent this week, at number 15, and the Paladins at number 25. Furman is number 21 in the coaches poll, so no real movement there. Of course, the games when you play up like that are not supposed to count against you in any way, and they don't factor in to making the playoffs at the end of the season. So the Paladins stayed put at number 25. 3 SoCon teams in the top 25 for the after the first week of the regular season, according to Stats FCS, and we'll obviously monitor that and keep you up to date on that each and every week. Our show is brought to you on a daily basis by our friends at the Carolina Creative Group. Randy Looper and the folks there, they work with a lot of the heavy hitters in Greenville and a lot with the little guy like me. And when I needed a new website, that's who I turned to. TheDanScottShow.com has been up and operating for just over a month now, and very happy with the way it looks. And we are always looking to tweak it and improve it. So when you go out there, check it out. Let us know what you think. But if you need a website, you need something as simple as just a logo done, you need help with marketing and brand strategy and development, all of those things, that's where Carolina Creative Group comes in, and they do a fantastic job. You can find out more by going to their website, carolinacreative.co, or you can just give Randy a call at 864-250-2012. 250-2012. All right, that is a quick show setup. When we come back, we're going to spend some time with Don Clardy from the 88 National Championship team. We're going to get his thoughts on Saturday's opener over at Clemson, and then we're going to start going week by week through the 88 schedule and Don's sophomore season with the Paladins. We'll be back and get into all of that in just a moment. This is the Dan Scott Show, and we'll return right after this.
If you're looking for the perfect frame for that special photo or painting, Custom Corners Frame Shop in Seneca can deliver for you. Family owned for nearly 4 decades, Trevor and the folks at Custom Corners Frame Shop pride themselves on quality, presentation, and professionalism. They offer picture framing for every budget, and every job is custom. Custom Corners Frame Shop also sells work from local artists as well as locally themed gifts. For more information, visit them at 289 Market Street in Seneca. Call 864-882-7736 or find them on Facebook, Custom Corners Frame Shop in Seneca.
When you go in search of a fence company, what's your criteria? Experience? Trust? A company that gets it right the first time and stands behind its work? Then your search is over. Faulkner Fence has been Greenville's fence company for more than 40 years. Ed Faulkner started the business, and now son Todd continues the tradition of excellence. So regardless of your fencing needs, commercial, industrial, or residential, trust the company that Greenville has trusted for over 4 decades. Faulkner Fence, 864-271-4626, or online at FaulknerFenceCompany.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Scott. You know, I've been telling you for some time now that I switched the protection of my home and family to Security Complete. I can tell you that I've been ecstatic with the results. Locally owned with more than 40 years experience in the industry, Security Complete uses nothing but the latest technology, which equals low overhead, which equals greater savings to the customer. Fully automated systems with monitoring rates much lower than the competition. Security Complete gives you all this and does not require a contract of any length. Find out more by calling 864-546-0630 or find them on Facebook and Twitter. Security Complete, my first line of defense. Make them yours today.
Looking for a great car, but your credit needs work? Premier Automotivations is a professional referral service motivated to help you drive a car you love while rebuilding your credit. Late model cars of all kinds. Premier Automotivations can get you on the road and your credit on the road to recovery today. Serving all of upstate South Carolina, it's Premier Automotivations. Call Sherry today at 864-722-3785 or email cricketgravely@gmail.com.
For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant more life-changing wishes. Visit Make-A-Wish online now. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
welcome back to the show. I am Dan Scott. Good to have you with us on this Tuesday edition, first show of the week. Tomorrow, Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com will be with us. Thursday, we expect to get our first visit of the season with the former Secret Service agent and, of course, member of Clemson's 81 national championship team, Billy Davis. And we'll also have an Elon preview, hoping to get Taylor Durham, their fine play-by-play voice, with us as well. But as we get rolling here on this Tuesday edition, normally this segment will be on Mondays, but Labor Day holiday meant we had to push it to Tuesday. This is Don Clardy. He was a member of the 88 Furman National Championship team, and we're going to have some fun over the course of this season. First of all, Don's going to be here to provide a little bit of analysis of the Furman games that were just completed the previous weekend. But then we're also going to go week by week through the 1988 schedule and have Don give us his thoughts on that game. He was a sophomore that season, so we'll be talking about the South Carolina State game from 1988 this week. And then and when we're all said and done, he's going to tell us a little bit about what he does at New York Life. So you got a lot on your agenda right here, right?
A lot on my agenda for sure.
How you doing, man?
To it. Yeah, I'm doing good, Dan. It's always nice to chat with you. I appreciate you having me join you.
Well, I think this is going to be fun. You obviously know a little bit about what we're talking about here, and it's going to be great since here at Furman we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of the 88 National Championship team with the hashtag Diamonds Are Forever, the Diamond Anniversary. It's going to be going on the entire athletic calendar, 18 and 19. I thought it would be good to kind of have some fun with this thing. So we'll get to that in a moment. But let's start with what we saw over at Death Valley on Saturday from your perspective. Knowing what the challenge was going in, nobody has to fool anybody with any extra hyperbole. We knew what the challenge was going to be. What did you see out of Clay Hendricks' team that you can take away from a positive standpoint?
I actually saw a number of positive things. The score got away from us. That wasn't a huge surprise. But, offensively, I think we saw a lot of young talent step in that's going to be able to help us this year, whether it be Granger at quarterback. I was surprised personally that he got that much playing time. I thought he did a good job handling that kind of environment. First game as a true freshman. Running back Watkins, another freshman, number 31, very impressive, I thought. Had some good runs, almost broke one or two runs, almost took it the distance. Another true freshman, I think, is Bell, the wide receiver, number 88. Looks like he's really explosive. Going to add another strong wide receiver to, already what I think is probably going to be a strong group.
And you're not partial to receivers at all, are you?
Yeah, I may talk about those the whole time if you let me. But and then on defense, the thing I noticed is, they really looked the part. One of the things in recent and kind of past history, particularly in the defensive backfield, we've always kind of been kind of small. When you look out there at some of the guys out there, the corners, you've got Lemons at, I think, 6'3", Weems at 6'1", Oki, I think, is 6'4". When I just looked out at the field, that's not to mention who I think are probably going to be our two best players. Anur, probably going to be our best defensive back, and then Trapp, in the time I saw him playing, made a few impressive plays as well. Those are not big statured guys, but when you add some size, I think it allows us to be a lot more versatile on defense with what we can do with our defensive backs. And I thought defensively they held up pretty well.
Yeah, with 5 minutes to go in the first half, it's a 13-0 game. And it appears that Clemson's going to have to punt the ball back to us from deep in their own territory, which would have given the Paladins good field position, but a video review overturned an incomplete pass and gave Clemson a first down. And lo and behold, they end up scoring twice in that 5 minutes to make it 27, as you might expect in that game as the second half went on. But you tell me what you think. But the defense is going to be the unit that's ahead of this offense early in this season, just because of the sheer number of veterans who are back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the defense needs to take another step, though. This week it's going to be a huge game against Elon. 2 games against them last year. Fortunately, in the playoff, we came out on the top of that one, and we lost the first one. But that's going to be another tough challenge for them. But yeah, it will be interesting to see. It's hard to get a real measure of exactly where they are when you're playing a team that has the talent that Clemson does and the just dominant athletes that they do. So I'm excited to really see them play Elon and just see really where they're at. I'm excited about what I think they're going to look like.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting change in atmosphere as well, because we're going to go from a crowd of 80,048, which was the announced attendance, to a crowd that probably won't break 3,000
right
at Elon. I don't think they got to the 3,000 mark, and maybe just above 3,000 for the playoff game last year. So the atmosphere is going to be different, but the motivation, I think, should also be different, because while that was a great opportunity and the kids love playing in those play-up games and playing in those atmospheres, this is the one that matters. Now you're back on the ones that start counting towards whether or not you're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And Furman is the hunted in this game, right? Because they took that away from Elon last year in the playoffs. So Elon's got a favor to return, or they're going to be really fired up, I'm sure, about this game. So Furman has to have the intensity going on the road again. They're not playing in front of 80,000 people. They have to find a way, I think, to carry that intensity into that game, because I think Elon's going to come out with intentions to take care of business.
Being a former wide receiver, obviously you started off by talking about what you noticed in Furman's secondary going against Clemson's wide receivers. What was your impression of what you saw out of Amir Trapp, the Clemson transfer, who started at corner, started at punt returner? Chad Staggs told me last week that he brings a little swagger to that defense. Did you see any of that swagger on the field?
I absolutely did. Obviously, he's not a physically imposing guy. He's a small guy. But just watching him early in the game, and these are guys that he played with, so he probably has a chip on his shoulder going in there, but he did not back down. In fact, the series you were talking about, he also made a play where he stepped in front of a quick slant. Mm-hmm. They ended up colliding with each other and the ball bounced away. He almost picked that off, and that would have been 6 points. Just, not – even though you're playing against some really talented receivers, he was not backing off and giving them room. I mean, he was stepping up to the challenge, I thought, and that's the kind of leadership we're going to need on that defense.
Well, can you imagine the reaction of that crowd if Amir Trapp, who transferred from Clemson to Furman, had picked that and taken it the distance?
That would have been interesting, and they would have probably been silent for a few seconds. And it was one of those where I was just like, oh, because it was so close.
Yep, it was. This is Don Clardy, the former wide receiver at Furman, who is going to be with us all season long on Mondays starting next week to kind of break down what we saw in the previous week's Furman game, and also go step by step, week by week through the '88 season, which we'll get to in just a moment. In total, what do you take away from what you saw on Saturday? Where do you think this team is after week one?
Offensively, I think they have a lot of talent. Their offensive line also impressed me at times. So I think you're going to see a team that is better all around than they were last year offensively, because they've had a year to gel under this new offense. But we've got to stabilize the quarterback position. That was the wild card coming in. That made this game that much tougher. Whoever the quarterback was going to be hadn't really played. So are they going to be able to stabilize the quarterback position? Who's it going to be? I think there's still a question. Granger, I think, ended up playing more than anybody, but you had 3 quarterbacks play at least. So I think that's going to be a huge issue, is can we stabilize the quarterback position, get good play out of the quarterback. And then defensively, I think Coach Staggs has done a great job ever since he's been here. They do not sit back. They get after it. They put pressure on the ball, and sometimes they give up some big plays because of that, but I would just rather see that kind of aggressive defense to make plays, and I think they'll do that, and I think they have the guys back in position to do it.
Yeah, back to the quarterback thing for a moment. Harris Roberts started and played the first series and then did not play again the rest of the game. Jamar Lincoln was next in line, and then Granger. And Clay seemed to indicate in his post-game comments with Tom Van Hoy and Marcus Morris that the rest of the year was going to be the kids battling it out to see. So we'll watch that and see what happens. But so that's week 1 in the books, looking ahead to Elon now. And, of course, we're going to be previewing that quite a bit as we go on through the rest of the week. All right, let's flash back. And before we even start, this is phenomenal. It's nice to see somebody else collects and keeps things way, way longer than they probably should, much to the chagrin of his wife, I'm sure. But you were telling me that you're going to be maybe even more well-informed than you would have been about these games week by week. Why?
Because amazingly, when we played back in the '88 season and beyond, there was a coaches show. They don't do these anymore, I don't think. At least Furman, I don't think, does. But it was Coach Satterfield at the time was our head coach, and they did a 30-minute show every Sunday morning, and basically highlighted the game and had the coaches' comments. And somehow, just because I wanted to see the highlights of the games, I recorded each of those coaches' shows, and somehow they've made it through many years, many moves, made it from an ultimate transition from VHS to DVD, and I still have those Satterfield shows that haven't been watched in a long time, but I was able to watch that South Carolina State first game of 1988 season yesterday.
You know what? Now, since you've mentioned that, the wheels are starting to turn. I wonder if maybe there's a way we could flash some of those highlights up on the screen here.
Let's just say the quality of the screen is you can see it, but it's not what you're seeing today.
Look at this. look at this screenshot that I found in looking for the schedule, which I couldn't find. But this is a screenshot off of television as soon as that game ended. I mean that's the quality we're talking about there.
Yeah.
Furman Paladins 1988 NCAA 1AA at the time national champions, and there's Coach Satterfield being surrounded by players and media and well-wishers. Looks like he's walking toward midfield for the handshake. So, listen, people have seen this show for months now. Quality is not an issue.
Well, I'm happy to bring it in because it would be interesting to look at.
Yeah, if I could get a couple of them ahead of time and burn them onto the laptop, we might be able to play with them and see what we can do. That'd be pretty cool now to be able to show some highlights. As well, especially if some of those highlights involve a guy named Clardy, right?
Well, I would put those at front and center, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I could cut those out and put them. It only would take up about 2 minutes for the whole season, but I could put those out front for you.
You do what you have to do. Going into the 1988 season, and ultimately this team would finish 13-2 with a loss to Clemson and a regular season loss to Marshall, which you would avenge in the playoffs.
Right.
But going into the season, Don, was there a feeling that this group was going to be something special and that you had the talent to be a national championship contender? What was the overall feeling as you broke camp and prepared for that first game against NC State?
You know, I think we had a good feeling because we had really good leadership. You know, that started with Jeff Blankenship, Kenneth Goldsmith, which were two of our captains, really strong leadership. I don't know that there was necessarily a national championship feeling. I think in '86 they had made the playoffs, maybe had lost in the first round. '87 was my freshman year. I think we were 7-4, didn't make the playoffs, and I think we were picked to finish middle of the pack. So I'd say our focus was more on conference goals at that time. There's always going to be some talk about, hey, let's make the run all the way to the national championship. But I think it was about getting back at the top of the conference initially. And again, we had some great leaders on that team going into that season.
And interestingly enough, correct me if I'm wrong, you talk about all the veterans, all the great leaders you have, but it ended up being a freshman quarterback that led you for most of the season, right?
Well, actually a sophomore
Frankie
DeBusk, who I went to high school and played with. But yeah, he Although, interestingly, he did not start out the season starting. Patrick Baines started the season. I think Frankie had some shoulder issues during two-a-days that kind of put him a little behind. So it took him a couple of games to get into the rotation. So Patrick Baines played most of the South Carolina State and also started the next week at Clemson.
All right, so let's talk about South Carolina State. What do you remember about that opening weekend in 1988?
For me, particularly, it was my first varsity college football game. We had junior varsity back then, junior varsity games, so I didn't travel with the varsity my freshman year. So for me personally, it was really exciting, my first college football game against SC State. So that's the biggest memory. And just, understanding that, okay, this is a bigger thing now, more responsibility, just being part of that team. The goals I'd strive for, that was the day I was going to get to step out on the field and be in the wide receiver rotation and play college football, which has been my goal since I was a young kid.
So what are you thinking at that juncture? Throw it to me quick and let me get the jitters out of the way, or don't throw it to me right now until I have a chance to settle down. What are you thinking?
You know what I was thinking, because back then if we threw the ball 15 or 20 times, that was a lot of throws. We ran a lot of option. So I was thinking every time I got on the field, make a play. We had a lot of blocking responsibilities, and honestly, I probably got to play more because I went after it in blocking. So whether I was blocking or whether they were running the play the opposite side of me, I was going to go block somebody, hit somebody, and if I was fortunate enough to get a pass thrown to me, I was just going to try to make a play.
All right, so kind of walk us through how that game played out.
Well, we actually jumped on them early. You talked about the world's shortest punt return.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had one of those. We ended up blocking 3 punts in that game, which you never hear of that happening. And one of those blocked punts, literally the guy went in, I think it was Julius Dixon, and took the ball off the punter's foot. Now, he went down to the ground. We didn't return any of those for touchdowns, but at least 2 of those 3 blocked punts were in the first half. So we really dominated defensively. They couldn't do a whole lot. Offensively, we just ran it. Bobby Doherty, Kenneth Goldsmith did a lot of damage in that game. As I look back on it, amazingly, I didn't remember this, but key parts of our national championship run on offense, John Bagwell, Dwight Sterling, did not play in that game. So it was really Bobby Doherty and Kenneth Goldsmith carried the load there. And then Patrick played most of that game, Patrick Baines, and Frankie came in the fourth quarter and actually threw me a pass in the fourth quarter. So I was glad to see my old high school teammate. We were able to hook up on our first college pass together in that game. So that was really exciting for me.
So the final score?
38-0.
So a little whitewash to start the season.
It was dominant. I don't think they really came close to scoring in that game. So I'd say after that game, the attitude was probably started to change a little bit on, whoa, we're pretty good here. And then we'll talk next week about Clemson the next week.
What was the bus pass your first reception, or was there?
It was.
So
we had hooked up in a couple of junior varsity games, so I had caught a few junior varsity passes, but in a varsity game, and it was a post corner route, and he threw it over the shoulder, and I just laid out and caught it. It was probably one of the best catches I had, my first one in college.
Is it on that highlight reel?
It is.
Nice.
It is. And I got to show my kids last night. I'm not one who takes out all the highlights and shows them, but while I was looking at it last night, I had to call the kids down and say, hey, this was your dad's first college catch. And, they were impressed for about 5 seconds.
I was going to ask if they believed you. Nah, come on, Dad, that's not you.
Once they made out my number on the grainy video, they believed it. They believed it.
That's fantastic. So 38-0, the final against South Carolina State. And what do you remember about post-game in the locker room?
Well, now that's a tougher one. I know we were just excited. I was personally excited just to participate with that group of guys, and just, it when you dominate a team like that, there's just a feeling that you get that you can kind of take on the world. So I think that really set the tone for our season, and I know everybody was just thrilled with that result in the first game.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing this all season long, especially now since you have all the video highlights and coaches shows to refresh your memory. This is going to be great as we move forward. Next week, we'll talk about week 2 of that season, their game against Clemson. A little symmetry in the schedules 30 years later. Both teams played at Clemson during the season. So we'll talk about that one next week. Also, we're going to give you an opportunity to kind of tell people a little bit about what you do now that your playing career is over and you're in the real world.
Yeah, and I've done a number of things actually over the years, several things. I started out as an attorney, practiced law for about 9 years, did estate planning and business planning, and then actually transitioned into a financial advisor type position, and I'm affiliated with Northwestern Mutual. And really what I help folks do is clarify their financial goals and then kind of hold them accountable to achieving those goals. It really has a lot of similarities to being a coach, I guess. You're really educating folks. You're helping them hit those goals that they're striving for. I guess the one difference is, if my client is kind of like the player and I'm like the coach, the player has the ability to fire me, so that's a little different. So I have to kind of, handle that a little differently maybe than that coach-player relationship. But that's been a great experience for me to help, whether it be business owners, executives, professionals, kind of achieve financial security is what I'm trying to help them do.
So when somebody comes to see you at Northwestern Mutual, what are some of the things they're looking for?
A lot of times they don't have it all pulled together and they're just trying to figure out how do I, a lot of times it may focus on retirement. I want to make sure I have a good retirement, but there's so much more once you dig into it than that. As we all know, we've had friends and family members that unexpected things happen, whether it be an early death or a disability or a long-term care need. So they may come in thinking about, hey, I just want to make sure I'm saving enough money for retirement and making enough money to get there. There's really a lot more to it than that. Touching on my prior career as an estate planning attorney, I'm not drafting legal documents or wills for folks, but that's part of my job to make sure they have all their estate planning in order and other risk management issues as well.
You almost fall into a category that my buddy Dave Glenn from ACCSports.com falls into because you were an attorney and you have done some media work with the Furman Network.
Right.
Dave is an attorney and is a talk show host and is the head guy at ACCSports.com. His mother told him that if he were a politician, he'd be the 3 most hated people in America. Lawyer, media, politician. So
I've heard my share of lawyer jokes over the years.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have. Well, listen, this has been fun.
It has.
And if people want to find out more about what you can do with the financial advice at Northwestern Mutual, how can they get in touch with you? And in the future, we'll actually have a graphic up so people can see it on screen.
Yeah, Don.Clardy at northwesternmutual.com or our direct office line 864-679-3849. My associate Joanne, who's a lot of fun and great to work with, would be talking to you as well.
All right, you're going to email me that information later so I can turn it into a graphic and we'll go from there. Enjoyed it, man.
I did too.
Thank
a lot
you
of
much.
Fun.
This is going to be fun. We'll do this every week. So next week he'll have some thoughts on the Elon game, and we'll be looking back to week 2 of 1988 when that team went to Clemson.
That's right.
All right, we'll take a break and come back and continue with more on this edition of the Dan Scott Show right after this. Hey, everybody, Dan Scott here, and I want to tell you about my technology partner, Carolina Creative Group. When my show needed a creative technology boost, I turned to Carolina Creative Group. My custom design website is going to take marketing as well as brand strategy and development to new levels. The search engine optimization means that my clients' ads will be seen by more people more often. And if I have any questions, Carolina Creative Group is just a phone call away. Friends, that is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. You can find out all the ways that Carolina Creative Group can help your business by simply calling 864-250-2012. Again, that's 864-250-2012, or or simply visit them online at carolinacreative.co. Carolina Creative Group, technology partner of the Dan Scott Show.
For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant more life-changing wishes. Visit Make-A-Wish online now. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Dan Scott here for the Atlanta Bread Company. What do I like about Atlanta Bread? Well, too much to mention in a short commercial, but here are a few things. Bread baked daily fresh on site, a tremendous selection of soup, sandwiches, and salads, seasonal special additions to the menu, delicious hot coffee, and a bevy of other drink options, and yeah, can't forget about the baked sweet goodies. Dine in or carry out, and when you have the Atlanta Bread Company app, you can order and pay online, then breeze past the lines to the pickup counter to get your food. Experience it for yourself. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
All right, welcome back to the show as we continue live here. I'm Dan Scott. It's the Tuesday edition of our program. Our thanks to Don Clardy. I'm telling you, this is going to be fun. I really believe that getting the opportunity to have Don reminisce every week, and plus the fact now that he's got the old coaches shows from the '88 season, go back and watch week by week. He'll be. I can promise you, he's going to be a lot more informed than I am. I came in here this morning and trying to do some stuff on a rush job and got some of it done and some of it not done, and also misidentified the place that he works at. I'm not going to say the name of that other place, but it's Northwest Mutual. So Don Dark Clardy at nm.com if you'd like to email him and find out more about what he can do for you. You know, just some thoughts from my standpoint on the Furman's game at Clemson on Saturday. First, personally, it was nice to see some people that I had not seen in a while from all the years that I worked over there. You know, I get to see the baseball people twice a year, but from a football standpoint, getting to see Kevin Hendricks, who did yeoman's work in helping me with some stuff in the booth. He's one of their IT guys over there. Seeing my buddy Al Adams, who does the in-house announcing for the gathered press during the game, and there's just so many people over there. It was very strange not to see Tim Beret after his retirement. He will be working in a couple of weeks for the rest of the football season, but he was off doing golf on television for NBC. And it was just good to see some familiar faces and get a chance to catch up with some people, some of the guys on the Clemson beat that I have not seen in a while. So that part of it was fun. Also interesting to see what they've done with the interior of the football stadium. The area where the radio booths are is on the same level it was on the last time Furman played there in 2012, but everything else has changed. The booths have been redone. The main press area used to be the next floor up. So if you were in the radio area, if you wanted to go get notes, you wanted to go get the press mill, get something to drink or whatever, you had to go up a set of stairs. Well, now everything is down on one level where the radio booths are, and I'm assuming they're using that other level for luxury suites and all of those good things. But so it was kind of interesting to see what they've done there. I think 3 years ago is when it kind of opened in the way that they have it now. And then once the game got going, I was impressed with Furman's defense early on. I thought that they acquitted themselves pretty well, and really did. Again, it was a 13-0 game with 5 minutes to go, and then you had the overturned call that, from my standpoint, the officials got correct. What we could see, they showed it on the video board. We also had a TV in the booth, and when they showed it from behind and blew it up, it looked as if they got the call right. I know Clay afterwards still wasn't buying it, if you heard the postgame radio show. But, that's the way it went. And once they turned that call around, it kept the drive alive. They went on and scored and ended up scoring twice in the final 5 minutes to go up 27-0 at the half. But, so you're at a point where it's 13-zip, and it looks like they're getting ready to punt from deep in their own territory before that call's overturned. I thought the defense acquitted itself pretty well, and I thought offensively there were some moments here and there, trying to establish the running game against that front four we knew was going to be extremely difficult. And for Furman's running game to really get rolling, you've got to be able to establish the fullback or the B-back, and that was difficult. Did have, a play or two develop on the option, and as the game went on and substitutions went on, Deion Sanders did break out the, I think it was a 46-yard run that provided a highlight. But I think maybe the thing that stood out most to me was the relative poise of the two kids at quarterback. Now, Jamar Lincoln did fumble his very first collegiate snap, fortunately able to fall on it and keep possession. But outside of that, no major mistakes. Darren Granger, same thing, kept his poise. I think Clay said after the game that he was very, very happy with what he saw out of both of those young men, and it was Darren Granger who led the lone scoring drive late in the game, and Furman became the first FCS team to score on Clemson since Wofford did back in 2015. So, all in all, like I say, you know the challenge going into a game like that. There were some very, very positive moments. And what did Clay Hendricks tell us prior to the game? He wanted the team to go over and play well. He wanted them to execute to the best of their ability the game plan that had been put down there. Wanted to get all of that on film and be able to get better for the next week, which is going to Elon this week in games that start to matter when it comes to playoff possibilities down the road. So got out of there. As far as I know, there were no major injuries. Haven't heard anything from anybody. And we move on. As far as Clemson goes, I think they're going to be the real deal. It'll be intriguing to see how their quarterback situation plays out as the year goes on between Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence. But, man, that defense is just flat awesome. There's no question about it. So we'll kind of follow the track of both of those teams as we move forward, more closely, significantly closer, obviously, Furman, as we are here week to week. So we're going to be lining up for the second broadcast of the year at Elon, a 6 o'clock start on Saturday. Prior to that, the Clay Hendricks Show live from Shortfields in Travelers Rest on Thursday, 6 o'clock. Look forward to seeing you there. The next week, the Hendricks Show, Thursday at 6, will be in the dining hall here at Furman, as we're going to do two shows from there to kind of get the students ramped up. That's prior to the home opener against Colgate, and then later we'll do it prior to the Wofford game as well. So just keep all that stuff in mind, and we'll keep reminding you of it as we move forward. That kind of puts a wrap on things from the weekend. Again, I think the big thing now moving forward is you're healthy, improve this week, and go and see how things play out against Elon, see what strides the offense makes, see if the defense will take what they did positive there, continue to build on it, and be the unit early in this season that's going to have to take the reins, have to take the lead while the offense is kind of getting its footing a bit. But make no mistake about it, as Don referenced, there is some talent. There's some good young talent on that offensive side of the football. It's just going to take a little bit of time for them to come together. One more break, and when we come back, we'll have some final thoughts. We'll wrap up today's show, get you set up for tomorrow, and tell you what's coming up the rest of the week as well. This is the Dan Scott Show. We're live here in studio on Furman's campus, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Looking for a great car, but your credit needs work? Premier Automotivations is a professional referral service motivated to help you drive a car you love while rebuilding your credit. Late model cars of all kinds. Premier Automotivations can get you on the road and your credit on the road to recovery today. Serving all of upstate South Carolina, it's Premier Automotivations. Call Sherry today at 864-722-3785 or email cricketgravely@gmail.com.
When you go in search of a fence company, what's your criteria? Experience? Trust? A company that gets it right the first time and stands behind its work? Then your search is over. Faulkner Fence has been Greenville's fence company for more than 40 years. Ed Faulkner started the business, and now son Todd continues the tradition of excellence. So regardless of your fencing needs, commercial, industrial, or residential, trust the company that Greenville has trusted for over 4 decades. Faulkner Fence, 864-271-4626 or online at faulknerfencecompany.com.
For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant more life-changing wishes. Visit Make-A-Wish online now. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Hey everybody, Dan Scott here, and I want to tell you about my technology partner, Carolina Creative Group. When my show needed a creative technology boost, I turned to Carolina Creative Group. My custom design website is going to take marketing as well as brand strategy and development to new levels. The search engine optimization means that my clients' ads will be seen by more people more often. And if I have any questions, Carolina Creative Group is just a phone call away. Friends, that is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. You can find out all the ways that Carolina Creative Group can help your business by simply calling 864-250-2012. Again, that's 864-250-2012, or simply visit them online at carolinacreative.co. Carolina Creative Group, technology partner of the Dan Scott Show.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at cincyfavorites.com.
Welcome back. Final segment of the show on this Tuesday edition. It's one of those days where you kind of feel, at least I do, feel like you're chasing the show a little bit, trying to get caught up after the long weekend, the extra day off yesterday. I say day off. I actually spent it, a portion of it, broadcasting over at the Greenville Drive, which I'm going to talk about here in just a moment. But anyway, coming up on the show, the next couple of days. Where is the schedule? Here we go. Of course, today we had Don Clardy. Tomorrow, Dave Glenn, ACCsports.com. And then Thursday, if all goes according to plan, we'll get Billy Davis back on with us for the first time in a few weeks, the former Clemson standout, 81 national championship member and retired Secret Service agent. Now works for the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association there. And then also in the Elon preview, hopefully Taylor Durham, their play-by-play voice, will be coming up with us. That's a look at what is coming up this week. And then from the Southern Conference viewpoint, again, there are the scores from the first week of action and the games this week. Paladins at Elon at 6 o'clock, and then 4 o'clock ETSU at Tennessee. Rest is at night. Jacksonville at Mercer. Chattanooga at Citadel, a conference game. Wofford at second straight conference game, hosting VMI. And then Samford playing at Florida State. That's a look at your conference schedule for this week. Mentioned that I did the Greenville Drive game yesterday. It was the last game of the 2018 season for the Drive, and they finished one game away from making the playoffs after a 25-44 first half of the season. They finished the second half 39-31. Just a remarkable job of turning things around by manager Iggy Suarez and watching players develop. And, you know, the rosters change as the year goes on, players get promoted from every team, not just the Drive. And as the first half came to an end, there were some roster additions. Ryan Fitzgerald came in and solidified things at shortstop, which moved Ever Luis Lozada over to second base, where he was a lot more comfortable. You had Zach Sterry, Garrett Benj come in the final 30 games of the year. Jaron Duran came up from Lowell, and that seemed to really solidify that roster and solidify what they put on the field on a regular basis, and I think it showed. And even after Denny Reyes and Cutter Crawford got promoted to Advanced A Salem, they still continued to get good starting pitching more often than not, and we saw it again this weekend. For me, though, it was fun to have that kind of a foray into the world of professional baseball broadcasting. I've said it before, I hate the circumstances that required that someone fill in. Ed Jensen has been ill and is still really struggling, so he really needs your thoughts and prayers, mostly your prayers. But circumstances aside, I'd be lying if I didn't say that I had an absolute blast. And while one part of me is kind of glad that you can only take a breath now and get back to the regular amount of hecticness, is that a word? The regular amount of stuff that goes on this time of year. Part of me is always going to be sad when a baseball season that I'm personally involved in comes to an end. So I thanked them on the air yesterday, but I just want to say thank you again to the folks with the Greenville Drive organization, Eric Jarenko, the general manager, his boss, owner Craig Brown, Cam White, who is the media relations guy, all the guys that we worked with, the technical folks, Clayton Gibson and everybody else in there, all of the folks in the press box and game day ops, Allen and Davis and everybody else, just too many to mention. You kind of hate to start mentioning names because you're going to leave some people out. But the bottom line is it was fun. The Drive does a first-class job, which is why they continue to be right at the top of the league in attendance every year. Going to finish averaging for, I think, 65 home dates this year, just under 5,000 fans per game, which is phenomenal. And every time you go to the ballpark, there's something going on. Groups there, fireworks. There's always something that makes it an experience. And then you got to see some pretty good baseball, especially in the second half of the year. So I don't know what the future is going to hold as far as that is concerned. I'm leaving that in their hands. We talked a little bit about that yesterday, and we'll just see where that goes. Bottom line is Tom Van Hoy, who helped me, we had an absolute blast doing those games, and just want to thank the Drive for the opportunity to have some fun and to extend baseball. I totaled it up. I think I got it right. 82 games this year between the Furman broadcast and the Drive broadcast, which is about half of a Major League Baseball regular season schedule and a little more than half of a minor league schedule, but it's the most games I've ever done in a single season. And I'm ready to do a couple more. That's going to be football, though, the rest of the way. Looking forward to it. Thank you again, Greenville Drive, and we'll see where things go from here. Right now, I know where we're going. We're going to Elon on Saturday, and we're going to get prepared for that the rest of the week, and we're going to say goodbye for you this Tuesday here today. Thank you for joining us. Our thanks to Don Clardy for what I'm sure is going to be a fun segment the rest of the season, as we have him on every Monday at 10:15 to talk about the previous weekend's Furman game and taking the 1988 schedule, which he was a sophomore in that championship team, week by week, and breaking it down and getting his thoughts on it. Next week, we'll be talking about that team's visit to Clemson. Listen, you folks have yourself a great rest of your Tuesday. We will be back with you tomorrow, same time, same place. Dave Glenn, ACC Sports Journal, will join us then. Until then, I'm Dan Scott, saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.